And I think we might be live. I'm gonna go double check on that. Okay, alright, so if you didn't see the stream title or it's messed up, like with the second one, today we're doing stuff with basil, so take a peek out the window. Yeah, that's basil. So yeah, I'm doing some stuff with that, and gonna be covering how to prepare basil, drying it, chopping it, keeping it alive, and snipping leaves from it. So yeah, we're gonna start with that. So I'm gonna open the window and raise it up just a bit so I can get audio in from the outside. There we go. So actually I can't bring that close enough, so we come back in. I'm gonna grab the watering can. And those of you who aren't there, but maybe later, can't reach out at the moment because it's in a laptop in a different room. So bear with me. So keeping it alive, we'll start with that. So you want to get a small watering can. You don't want one that big. For example, in this case, I have two small pots. About two times the size of my hand-ish, about 1.5 actually. And you want to lightly drizzle the top of the dirt. You don't want to heavily soak it because it'll be all kind of messed up, and you'll also kind of be wasting a lot of water and nutrients. Now I have compost mixed in, which allows me to get a bit more nutrients and it grows a bit more better, but you don't have to. So you want to drizzle a bit. You don't want to make it mud, but you want to just get it nice and damp. You can do that several times a day. And you just want to do that to make sure it stays alive. Next, we'll talk about harvesting basil. So, there are many options for this. I'll probably do a second follow-up stream once these plants die, or it's getting towards the end of the season for their growth. But how you want to harvest them is you want to, if they're alive, you want to go for the big leaves, not the small ones, because the small ones can still grow. And if you have nails, like I do, you want to kind of pinch them in around like the stem of the leaf that sticks off. And if you don't have nails, you can use scissors or other things. If you kind of just want to snip it like that, it comes off in your hand fairly easy. The variety of basil that I have is known as Italian aromatic basil, I do believe. And it is a more scented basil, and you can really kind of smell it if you put your nose on it. Yeah, so there's that. Next, once you've snipped it, what you want to do is you want to put it in a colander, and you want to run some water over it. And you kind of just want to rinse it off and make sure there's no junk or dirt or anything on it. And then you want to make sure you get as much water off of them as you can. Now I'll do a quick coverage on cutting basil and preparing it. So let's see. So here I have a bowl of already basil that's been drying for a while now. So you put a bit on the cutting board. This is my left hand, so a bit complicated. But essentially you first want to get these little stems off the ends, because they're kind of tough to chop through and do things with, so you want to make sure you get rid of those stems. Kind of just nice light snip. Make sure you don't chop anything else during this time, because you'll need to dispose of the stems. In this case, I'm just throwing in a compost bucket, but do with them as you wish. Alright, so now I got all the stems off. You kind of want to like line them up, like so. Of course, these are kind of going to be odd shape, and you just kind of want to slice them apart. Make sure they're kind of small so you can like shake them out of a shaker bottle and just be able to like put them on things. And it may be kind of tough for one reason or another, but you want to make sure you kind of just go get around and slice it up. You do definitely want to be, if it's going to be in like a food that you're serving to people, you probably want to make it as small as you possibly can, so that it's not really visible. Because it's, even after being chopped, it still tastes and smells good, but you stop chopped and dried, but you still want to make sure it's kind of invisible. So that is a bit too big. So you want to make sure it's like that small. Listen to the knife ASMR. Alright. Oh, that's hot. My phone is not anything else. So I'm going to keep the camera on that for a second. Need to do something with Discord. To make sure peeps know I'm live. And then you can just sprinkle it around. That's some basil I need to chop. So yeah. God, my phone gets really hot doing this. So, I don't lose you guys. Yeah. Alright. So, yeah, once you have it chopped up, you want to make sure it's like really small, as I showed you earlier. Kind of teensy-tiny, kind of not as big, not as small as a grain of salt, but if you've ever been to like a fancy restaurant or ever had tomato soup prepared by someone who knows what they're doing, they'll kind of put some basil on there. Now, with fresh basil, it works very much the same. You take basil leaf, you want to make sure you get the stem off before it dries, before you chop it, and then you just chop it up. Now, fresh basil, you can use it the same way. You can make it really small and you can throw it in. Though I will warn you, trying to make it extremely small doesn't work because it turns into a kind of a mush, which unless you want to make a pesto, you probably want to just chop it, kind of tear it up if you're going to throw it into a salad or on tomato soup if it's fresh, or the places you probably just want to keep it large enough, say this big, or maybe this big, because otherwise you'll get into the land of, oh no, it's kind of too small. And yeah, so you just keep going and you slice it up. I have had those 2 basil plants out there, a couple months, and they've done pretty well. As you can see here, yeah, I had to, you probably can't read that because it's backwards anyways, I think. Maybe not, I'm not sure. But basically, because people in my house would throw the basil into salads. And so I had to leave notes on the top of the basil saying don't use the basil, because otherwise I'm like, I need that basil to dry for stewing. Yeah. And then what I wound up doing was, I have a little old bottle of basil that I just wrote the words homegrown sweet Italian aromatic basil on it. And so it's kind of obvious that it's stuff that I made. And then the bits are a bit larger, but that's gives you a bit more flavor. Note that basil will not always smell nice. You may have to taste it, like actually eat it, after it's dried, due to the fact that it eventually loses its kind of smell-giving abilities. Some of you may have bought basil at grocery stores or other places that is fresh, that is still in the plant. I would not recommend that, due to the fact that you can't smell what it's going to taste like at that. Some can, a lot of them can't, so I would recommend buying them from like a plant shop or a nursery or some other place if you have one of those in your town or city where you live. And with regards to watering, you can do that several times a day. But it kind of is just up to you and what soil composition you used, etc. And we gotta follow Maziquax. Are you going to say hello, or are you just going to drop a follow and leave? I'm aware of that you're there. Not to be rude, but I'd like to see people say hi. Yeah, so make sure the soil is damp. Don't want it too wet, because also the roots won't grow as deep and get all the nutrients out of the soil. if you can see on the oven hood, it's silver at the moment. It wasn't that way last time. So recently we're having some cleaning people and they put some bleach, some Clorox on there as they normally do. It decided to give way because it was really greasy. So new one, new painted one, or maybe we'll just leave it like that. I don't know. But I think it looks nice, even though it looked terrible like right after they threw the bleach on there. And the basil doesn't have to be hard dried; it can be soft dried, which means when you're as you're chopping it, you'll feel it's kind of soft. That you want to be careful with that though, because it's hard to cut, so don't injure yourself. But it also may be a bit more squishy, and it may still have some water in it, so it may not do as well. So you may want to feel it before you chop it and see. I'm sorry about that. I forget about that. I do that just because I've experienced too many people trying to sell me things, including buying followers, etc. I'm like, no, I have friends. You're fine. But I just have had friends as well as myself I've seen people pop in just to ask me, would you like to buy things? The same thing on Discord. So I keep that there just because I'm like, well, most people who are trying to advertise something aren't going to wait 5 minutes to do that. I mean, look, okay, I have infinite basil out the window. I don't need to buy more basil. Maybe next year, but no. I have infinite basil and it'll probably reseed itself next year and it'll be back. Because both plants have already flowered. Probably dropped some seeds here and there. So, if you don't mind me asking, how'd you find me? I don't think I did any stuff promo this time. I'm just chopping up basil because I dried some for stream and I don't have any other ideas. So I'm just chopping up basil before I leave to go to Saluda tomorrow. Kinda expected to find myself in the low end of the list. But there's camera. So kind of gotten a fair amount of basil. So putting camera back up there. Oh, that's. Yeah, I've been doing that for a while. Hold on a sec. I'm aware of the fact that I was muted. I had to go actually do something for somebody, so. But I dried them by just sticking them in a bowl and letting them sit out. But yeah. Come on. Alright, I'm gonna drop for a second. There we go. Yeah, I stick them. I don't know if you saw it, but I just stick them in a bowl and then I put a little note on top of it saying, "Do not use this basil." Dang dishwasher, would you quit? Like I stand in front of the dishwasher and it has little touch things and it doesn't. There we go. Okay. That was one of the things I always hated was it's very sensitive. So yeah. So any other questions you want to ask about basil? Even though I haven't been live for long, I may have to end soon for reasons. That sounds weird. No, I haven't. But that's kind of weird. But yeah, one of the things that I do find is something that's kind of up to you is if whether you pour water a plant before you harvest the basil from it or after. Just because I found that sometimes a bit of water can seep out of the plant due to the fact of whenever you're pinching off the leaves with a nail or something else sharp, you may or may not seal the tubes properly. That it's kind of a micro thing that you can't really control, but it all depends on. Oh, I want to after watering get it so that all the water's been absorbed, versus before watering, because then after you water it, then it probably it may or may not try to send water to the spot. So I don't know. I don't know which is better for the plant, honestly. There's probably some scientific explanation of what I'm talking about if you don't understand. Yeah, I've never used it in a dessert, but I've used it in a lot of other things. I would use it in tuna salad, chicken salad, actual salad, which is a weird one on me because I didn't first use that and someone else used it there. But yeah, Is the stream title Basil or is it something else? Please tell me, because changing stream title was being really rude today. Okay, good. Ooh. Got a fair amount filled. But yeah. And then towards the end of things, you can actually, once the plant is, like, towards the end of the season when it's starting to get cold outside, if it's typically warm where you live, you can actually, I'm pretty sure you can, like, take the entire plant and, like, chop it up and turn it into basil, and you won't have any issues there. Like I said, I think, I don't know. Probably excluding the flowers, to be honest. Don't forget to empty your watering can when you're done. But yeah. The surprising thing is, I didn't expect them to take 2 waterings today. Normally they only take 1 and they just start spitting the rest out. But apparently today they decided that they would take 2. So that's nice. Let's see. So, if you don't have any questions, honestly, I have other things to do. So, I may just go ahead and raid out. Yeah. In the past, it's been longer, but again, I have things to do. My time frame got way messed up because of the fact that people left the house late. Yeah. So, I'm gonna go figure that out. If you have any raid suggestions, feel free to pop them in. I may or I may not choose them, but I'll, I guess, probably see you next time. So, bye. I will see you peeps later. Or just you, since I see nobody else showing up on user list.